The so-called eminent professor of Oxford, professor of history, Hughes Trevor Roper, declared in 1962 that perhaps in the future there will be some African history to teach, but at the present there is none. There is only the history of the Europeans in Africa. The rest is darkness, and darkness is not a subject of history. How do we answer people like him, including a lot of other people that try to debunk ancient African history in Egypt, Hamid, the Inka, the Dravidian civilization in India, the civilization is of Mesopotamia? We could point out through black history, because we know that answering those who think Africa has no history is critical. It is very important to know the origins of humanity and to ask questions why Europe stole African art if Africa didn't achieve anything. Germany decided to return over 7,000 African artifacts, and we know that when you go to ancient Hamid, you find that a lot of pharaohs' noses were knocked off and chopped off by Europeans and white Arabs when they realized that these depict the original founders of ancient Egyptian civilization. It is very clear that humanity's cradle is found in Africa, and that has been proved beyond any reasonable doubt by a lot of scholars. Our sister organization, Ipet Isut Cosmos Imbizo East West North South International, teaches us a lot about the discrimination of black people's history, and they say it's similar to trying to dismiss the nature for the good of the whole. The sun is where it is, the moon is where it is, and the earth is where it is. These items remain in their discriminatory places for the good of the whole, unless we misunderstand the collective. This was a response to the academia that had designed a defensive tool to pull you away from the natural laws of nature and keep you from telling and understanding the truth. So we're going to use Ipet Isut. Why is it important to answer those who think Africa has no history? It is because we want to establish historical truth. Why is historical truth important? Because it is your natural pointer to your natural identity. Why is your natural identity critical? Because knowing your identity will make it easier for you to fulfill your purpose. Why do you need to fulfill your purpose today? Because once you know your purpose and your history, you can know those that lie. It is very clear that European thinkers said Africa has no history and did not contribute to anything that mankind enjoyed. When he was saying this, he was actually looking at the Sphinx, which is very clear that he was a liar, daft, racist, and ignorant. Yet today, melanin-dominant people venerate him as a great philosopher. He stated this type of videos, and it's on record. So when you know identity and you know your history, you know the liars. You also know that one way how this helps us is to shut down these lying lips and their Afrocentrism and those that want to destroy your purpose, and cultural thieves who steal our heritage, like white Arabs in North Africa and the Ludo de Euro scholars like Roper and Hegel. It's time to remind them that when Africa was advanced, they were living in caves, and that their culture today, because they are returning and bringing back our artifacts, they are cultural thieves. Accordingly, if we have no sense of identity because others define our history, we are dead, though we are walking, eating, and breathing. This was amply demonstrated by Chancellor Williams in his book, The Destruction of Black Civilization, where he said Africans and persons of African descent must assume the primary responsibility and leadership in historical research. If we are to continue to leave practically all important historical research and writing concerning the black race to the white man, then we must be prepared to accept uncomplainingly the white man's point of view. The myth that Africa had no history, no written history, no oral history that is worthy to be taught has been debunked by artifacts, by orature, religious philosophy, and African spirituality. So Ipet Isut asks that you use the information we shall share in this review and then understand the anti-African signs of the history, even in some cases anti-African melanin dominant people as well, in order to get to Maati. So the first point of call is to be able to use an African methodology in your study and research. Number 2, to use correct maps of the earth. Number 3, to identify the culture that was the first built at the center of the earth. Number 4, originators of religion and spirituality clearly identified. Number 5, misuse of fossils like ancient skulls and bones from other places like China, purportedly to rewrite the origins of humans and block the out of Africa philosophy. Which race is more genetically diverse than other populations proves that it is the oldest race ever, because it gave birth to all other races and indigenous peoples and their identity all over the earth. So the first point of call is to be able to use African method in your research and study. You can go and download from their website Nigerian methodology defined, papyrus volume 13 number 33. What it means is that a particular procedure by which to do this research, because what has therefore been learned has only been from an anti-African, flex African point of view, or yet white supremacy point of view, not from the oldest group so far on Guvu or Gab the earth. So the method that is used in the papyrus is taken from, or should be taken from, African life and customs, or what has been traditionally called traditional African concepts. So that's the point number 1. Point number 2, you must be able to use correct maps of the earth. This is how the earth Guvu looked like in ancient times, known then as Pangia or Pango, mine, my place. And what you have here is all parts are together. It is the mound that came from the waters of Nyunyu. There was no recessive people or places called Asia or Europe. However, the oldest group on Guvu, Gab, the earth, was there. Wherever you cite ancient bones today, even if you can cite those bones in Asia, Europe, or any other part of the place, you have to know the pigmentation of that group, whether it was based on melanin dominance or not. Now, you can use this map of Guvu, Gab, the earth, to understand that there is only but one culture that built the civilization at the center of the earth, and that was the melanin dominant race. Any other explanation is erroneous and wrong. Any other explanation that tells you that Africa is the second largest continent is a lie. Africa is the largest continent because Africa is the whole earth. This, what they show here, is a country of the whole continent. You have to understand such concepts. So they go on to misuse fossils like ancient skulls, which they then define and try to redefine to say there was a polygenetic origins of humans all over the earth. This is all what melanin recessive people try to do all over the earth. Like they say that this ancient skull from China may rewrite the origin of humans. It's a lie. Why? Because the melanin dominant Chinese left a mark before the arrival of the mulatto and the current Chinese. If you are the oldest group, the melanin dominant people, how can one be more derived than the dominant original African and become a Eurasian, when in fact the oldest person was melanin dominant person in ancient times? We do not care where they were located on earth. They were using an incorrect map, and even the object to depict it was wrong, and that Eurasians came, which is a time later. Ancient melanin dominant human beings were the originators of original religion and spirituality, where the divinity or God falls under spirit, and the real creator is nameless, unknown, not a spirit or a being. The foundation of all other religions is African animism, a belief that nature has a soul. Quantum physics has proved this. The vibration aspect of everything that exists and the frequencies on dimensions of existence. This belief is that all things in nature, e.g. plants, mountains, animals, sky, moon, sun, earth, have a consciousness, and that is the basis of all religions. Scientists have completed a comprehensive study of genetic diversity in sub-Saharan Africa. It's shown here. This study finds that Africans have more genetically diverse populations amongst themselves than all the other populations combined. In the Washington Post, the staff writer Joe Aknebash on Friday, May 1, 2009, said Africans are more genetically diverse than the inhabitants of the rest of the world combined, according to a sweeping study that carried researchers into remote regions to sample the bloodlines of more than 100 distinct populations. What we know without any doubt is that Europeans and their white skin came on the earth 8,500 years ago, and that Asians appeared 15,000 years ago, and melanin dominant human beings have been here for billions of years. Here's the proof. 3 billion years ago, melanin dominant human beings were already on the earth, the oldest race. This is a metallic sphere from South Africa with 3 parallel grooves around its equator. The sphere was found in a Precambrian mineral deposit, which is known to be 2.8 billion years ago. And the other factors that we have given in other videos. So the nuclear power plant found in Oklo in Gabon, which is 2.5 billion years ago, proves that melanin dominant human beings are the oldest people on earth. This is the fundamental that you must be using to answer those that want to debunk Afrocentrism, or that want to say that you did not have any history. So, leaving behind modern biases and looking deep into ancient Kemetic Egyptian civilization, black history, which is black history, where brilliance and understanding rivals our current knowledge and is far ahead of our current knowledge. The concept that is found in ancient Kemet of gods or divinities is that these are intangible forces, spiritual forces, aspects of animism, or building blocks of animistic philosophy. You can read this book, Ancient Egypt 39,000 BCE, to find a lot of information about ancient Kemet. Then there is an RNA study cited by Top Science that found that the oldest skull found, which was found in Chad, was 7 million years ago. So your Bible, your Quran, your Torah, your Gita, any other religious book doesn't matter here, because these are proofs that are there today that can be proved scientifically. Indigenous peoples have been identified all over the earth because of Pangaea and the migration and movement of the earth. Professor Jin Lee of the Research Center of Contemporary Anthropology at Shanghai Fudan University has proved that modern Chinese people originated in Africa, and his research is based on DNA. This is the example that melanin dominant human beings can produce any other race. Every other race, no other race can produce melanin dominant human beings other than melanin dominant human women. Now, we want to answer those who think Africa has no history. Let's summarize that. You have to use African melanin dominant method and historical artifacts like the kleptospheres and the oldest nuclear plant. You have to understand true geography and use the correct maps of the earth, beginning with Pangaea, as well as the emergence of the mound from the waters of Nyunyu. You must also accept that you are a member of the oldest culture. That culture was found by our ancient ancestors millions or billions of years ago, who built the first civilization at the center of the earth. That the oldest religion and spirituality is African animism, which is the only oldest spirituality, no other. And there is a lot of genetic diversity and diverse amongst Africans than all the other populations of the earth put together. And that the practice of animism, a religion in which spirits exist in nature and play a role in daily life, is foundational to all other religions, which are bastards or watered down versions of that. So these areas of focus to reorient your identity. Why do you need to reorient your identity? So that you can live a fulfilling, purposeful life. African cultural identity through cultural symbolism and actions. Without your own cultural identity, you become anything that they want you to be. Number 2, the area of focus is spiritual empowered intellect that uses African spiritual subjects, metaphysics, alchemy, voodoo, astrology, numerology, symbology, cosmology, obia, the divinities, and that you must understand that you should know thyself and you shall know the divinities, because your body, the melanin dominant carbon body that you inhabit, is where the divine spark resides. So how do we get there to the purpose of our life? First, you have to subscribe to our channel, Hamiti Iburu Ethics. Second, you have to recover and maintain your Bantu or melanin dominant identity, which is the source of your power. And last but not least, you can contact us by sending an email with questions, suggestions at join@marifato.com for the gift of eternal life. Thank you. Have a great day. This picture by Ellen Brizulu. Till we meet again. Thank you.